Hey, good morning, everybody. How's it going? On my way to the clinic to see some patients. This is our busy day. Busy day today. And I was just thinking about talking about different type of topic. I know we talk about a lot of like what happens on day one and day two and what happens when a patient says this and why is it important to do that. But I wanted to talk a little shop. Talk functional movement shop. So where do kettlebells fit into functional movement? I want to tell you a little history, a little story about how I got interested in kettlebells and why I think it's such a good tool for many reasons, but I'll tell you the backstory first. So here's the backstory. And the backstory is I was like most people who looked at kettlebells and saw them in the gym and was thinking, is this some just like, you know, I'm going to balance on a Bosu ball, I'm holding a stick in my hand and I'm swinging something in my other hand type of just needlessly complex movement. And are these people just like circus performers? Like that's the way I used to look at it. Until I met a guy named Czar Horton. And Czar Horton was always very adamant about kettlebell work. And Czar Horton, if you ever seen this dude, he is, I don't know if I'm exposing his age. I'll just tell you, he's over 50. He looks like he's 30. The guy's got some insane genetics, first off, that he just looks so youthful, but he is in amazing shape. And the guy primarily trains with kettlebells and has for, I don't know, the last like 20 plus years. He's been doing it for a long time. And so Czar happened to be the kettlebell kind of strength conditioning guy for a lot of these UFC fighters. I was the team chiropractor for these UFC fighters at Jackson's Mixed Martial Arts in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so the way I met Czar is we were actually both taking care of Keith Jardine, the Dean of Mean, and Keith was awesome enough to fly us out to one of his fights, and Czar and I ended up sharing a room together, and that was the first time that we met. And I was really like pretty deep into my bodybuilding time then. I was probably at my heaviest, weighed like 235, fairly lean, very, very strong, kind of like a meathead, you know, couldn't really move all that well, was strong, had areas that were just achy and sore all the time, and that was just like the bodybuilding lifestyle, you know, eat as much as you can, lift as much as you can, don't want to screw up your gains. That was my MO at the time, right? So, I remember I went to the gym with Czar, and this is a story I've told a few times, but I went to the gym with Czar to work out, and I was doing like traditional bodybuilding stuff, doing some dumbbells, doing some barbell stuff, doing some machines, and he was looking for kettlebells, and they didn't have any kettlebells at this gym, so he's taking dumbbells, and he's doing kettlebell movements with dumbbells. He was doing swings with dumbbells. He was doing get-ups with dumbbells, and I'm watching him going, what is this guy doing? And so anyway, I was like, whatever, to each his own. And I never really thought much of it for a long time after that, okay? So then, fast forward several years. Like, I've known Czar this whole time, and I'd never done a single kettlebell workout with him. He had a gym in Albuquerque. He has a gym called Firebells because he's a paramedic firefighter, fire chief, and he takes care of a lot of firefighters and law enforcement. So he's got this gym called Firebells. And he is like the main kettlebell dude out there. And so years later, my wife and I we worked out with him a couple times, did a couple kettlebell classes. Czar did some one-on-one stuff with us, learning a kettlebell swing, learning a deadlift, learning some basic movements. And I was like, yeah, whatever, I'd rather just go lift weights. So didn't think much of it. Several years later, moved out to Idaho. We built our practice. We're handling segmental and postural approach in practice, and I knew I wanted to do more, and I started transitioning into putting together exercise protocols to open a functional movement department in our clinic. And there's an additional story to this of me flying back to New Mexico and shadowing in the clinic that I used to work in that was doing functional movement, trying to get some ideas from them. And anyway, it brought me full circle to following guys that really promoted kettlebells. The main guy that was promoting them now, who I saw, was strength and conditioning Brett Jones. There's a couple Brett Joneses now in chiropractic. This is not the chiropractic Brett Jones. This is the strength and conditioning Brett Jones, white dude, who does a lot of stuff with Gray Cook. And Brett Jones is like the second guy in charge. I don't remember his exact position in this big kettlebell group called Strong First, which is Pavel's group. Pavel's the guy that brought kettlebells from Russia over to the United States. His current group's called Strong First. Brett Jones is the second guy in command, and he's a big functional movement guy, big strength guy. And Brett Jones was always doing this kettlebell stuff. And I'm looking at that going, man, all right, maybe Czar was right. And so I started getting interested in kettlebell stuff again. And I started kind of like teaching myself to do some kettlebell work. And then I hit up Czar and I said, hey, Czar, I actually want to learn this the right way. I flew back out to New Mexico and I did some training with Czar. So I flew out there just to train with him. Flew Czar out to Idaho. He did some 2-day workshops with us. And then I trained for my Strong First certification, got my SFG level 1, which is a pretty hard certification to get. You have to do a 53-pound snatch test. So 24 kilograms, 53 pounds, you gotta do it 100 times in 5 minutes, which is pretty hard to do. A lot of cardio, a lot of endurance. I trained for that. There were 70 people who tested for the Strong First certification, and I think it was out in Seattle, I think is where we flew into. And anyway, 70 people tested. I think probably like maybe 35 passed, and I actually got it in 3 minutes and 56 seconds, which was my best time. But it doesn't matter. You don't get any extra points for time. You just have to do them properly in under 5 minutes. But I did it. And then you get tested on a lot of other form too, as far as the get up, a swing, shoulder press, double clean, double shoulder press, deadlift, so on. So anyway, so when I was at that Strong First certification, I realized that this buddy of mine, Czar, who I thought was, always like a big time kettlebell dude, I realized he was like the top dog because he's a master instructor for Strong First. And so all the other instructors, and I've seen videos on YouTube with them, and they're very like well-known, well-respected, they are all really kind of like looking to Czar as he is, he's a little bit higher up as far as experience and ranking, I guess. So anyway, so that's the backstory. How do kettlebells fit into functional movement? The cool thing about kettlebells is that it's a weight that forces your wrist to want to extend. You flex to hold it neutral. You keep a neutral wrist. There's a saying, there is no wrist in kettlebells. Keep your wrist completely neutral. And it allows you to move in ways that just are different than if you had a barbell or like a band or even a dumbbell. There's certain biases that a kettlebell forces you to do because it's an asymmetrical load, because it's putting weight on the back of your arm when you're holding. And the main foundational movements in kettlebell training, there's a lot of specifics, there's a lot of steps to learn, but they all require that you possess functional movement patterns, which is really a quite beautiful thing, because you can take now this fitness and this strength exercise, and that is, in a way, a assessment. So we have our MoveWell 3 Level 1, which is the screening process of checking movement. We have the MoveWell 3 Level 2, which is more of the assessment to figure out why someone can't move well. We have a MoveWell Level 3, which is more of like an in-depth differential diagnosis to really dial in specific protocols to fix someone's movement patterns. But all of it, all of our organized exercise leads back to eventually getting to the point where you can load a functional movement, and the tool of choice is a kettlebell. So why are kettlebells so great? They reinforce functional movement patterns, shoulder patterns, scapular stability, core engagement, glute activation, posterior chain activation. They naturally build on power, which there's a lot of just traditional bodybuilding stuff that doesn't really work on power. Power is like speed and explosiveness. It's not just pushing a weight from point A to point B. It's stuff that carries over into activities of daily living quite a bit. By the way, if you haven't watched our masterclass, we talk about how this kind of all fits together in the big picture of what we do with putting a corrective exercise department into a chiropractic clinic. It's movewelluniversity.com/masterclass. You should check it out. It's a pretty cool class. It's broken up into, I think, 4 pieces, so that if you don't have time to watch it straight through, you can opt into it. Sends you a couple of friendly email reminders so you can jump right back in, pick up where you left off. So movewelluniversity.com/masterclass. If you haven't watched it yet, check it out. And anyway, so as far as kettlebells too, like another big advantage is kettlebells are fairly inexpensive and they don't take up a lot of space, and it's just a simple type of rehab equipment, and it's intriguing to someone. It kind of begs the question, like when we take a patient through a tour of our clinic, so a brand new patient who walks in, we take him through a tour of the clinic and we take him to the exercise department, we highlight the fact that we have kettlebells. We want to plant the seed in their mind, not to intimidate them, but to kind of intrigue them a little bit. And if we get a response, we address it. If there's any sort of objection there, we address it. But we show them that so they can see like, oh, wow, this is different. Because you go to a physical therapy clinic, you go to most exercise facilities, like you don't really see kettlebells being highlighted as like, you know, a big thing. So anyway, for multiple reasons, kettlebells are something that, in my very biased opinion, I feel like if you're doing functional movement, you should learn the basics of kettlebells. And on a side note, we built this program called Move Well Kettlebell, which goes through the kettlebell fundamentals. And then we have another tier that we're putting the final touches on. We already filmed everything and uploaded it. We have some descriptions that haven't been put in yet. Really, this is a project that we have to just finish. It's the second tier of Move Well Kettlebell called Kettlebell Strength. And then we have Kettlebell Power mapped out. We haven't filmed it yet, but we're going to have this 3-tier process with some different exercise programming and things. And this is basically a program that other chiropractors, doctors can use, but also it's to turn over to the patient so the patient can use it for more in-depth guidance. And it's like dangling something, you know, like okay, here's the goal at the end of the rainbow. For someone who's maybe a little more exceptional to begin with, or who wants to get back into fitness, who hasn't exercised in a while, they come into your clinic, they have pain, they have a problem, they understand this whole process of rebuilding their body, fixing the segmental, postural, and movement component, and then the whole goal at the end of the rainbow is getting to do this really like cool, intriguing, kind of controversial maybe at times, strength and power exercise that they're going to learn, and you're going to introduce it to them. So that's kind of the process of how we've incorporated kettlebells. And I managed to go through and talk about this my entire drive to the clinic, which is good. It's time well spent. So anyway, whether you are watching this on a Facebook Live, okay, good morning, Dr. Matt, how's it going? If you're watching this on a Facebook Live, or if you're watching this on a replay, or you're listening to this audio being repurposed like in a podcast somewhere else, share this, comment on it, send it to someone else that you think would benefit from it, and check out for sure the masterclass that we referenced a couple times if you haven't seen it yet. It's movewelluniversity.com/masterclass. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. Have a great day seeing patients. I am pulling up to the clinic right now to start a busy day. We'll talk soon.